Call this morning's meeting to order. First thing is the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Grant, second by Kevin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Citizens to be heard. I don't think there's anybody here. Okay. Approval of the minutes of January the 7th.
Move approval.
Second?
Okay, motion made by Jim, second by Grant. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Payment of bills and vouchers.
Move approval.
Have a motion by Kevin,
Second.
second by Grant. All in favor?
Aye.
With that, we're gonna go on. Got a couple of awards today. Let's see, Kevin's birthday today, so we gotta make a recognition of that, so.
Oh, thank you.
Put that in the minutes. He is another year older, drawing Social Security. Anything else you want to make known on that?
That's plenty.
And with that, we're going to put on, we have Mike Ringel here today. If you step forward, I guess, we'd like to present you. Mike has given us 20 years of service here to the county, and it's been good service, and how time goes by for you probably. I've only been here for 8 years, but it has been a pleasure working with you, and hopefully it's been a pleasure working with us. At times. Darren, you wish to give?
Yep, probably nobody works more with Mike Ringel than I do. And I can tell you that when I first came here 9 years ago, I knew very little, if about nothing, of unions and negotiations and mediators and arbitrators and all that stuff. And I got a crash course from Mike back in 2011 on all of that good stuff. And now I consider myself fairly knowledgeable. I don't think you can ever become completely knowledgeable in this, but if anybody is completely knowledgeable, it's Mike Ringel, and he's been a big help to me. He's always been there when I call and willing to talk, even though he might have 100,000 other things going on at the same time. And so I just wanted to publicly thank him for his not only 20 years to Clay County, but for 9 years of backing me up and helping me out with all the union negotiations and mediations, some of which were still going on, but that's okay. When he told me he was retiring, my heart sunk. It's been a bad year in 2019. Mike left me, Jennifer left me. I don't know if it's just me or whatever, but I totally appreciate everything that Mike has done. And I know I haven't really, I talked with Sue a lot, phone and email, but I don't know if I've ever met you in person. And I know behind every great man is a greater woman. I think
My work wife.
I think Mike would attest to that as well, and I certainly would attest to that too. So I appreciate everything you've done for the Clay County and myself, and teaching me the ways of union negotiations and mediations and all that other good stuff that goes along with it. So just wanted to publicly say that.
Thank you.
I want to thank Mike too for your years of service to the county. The 12 years I've been here, it's, your counsel and your advice has been invaluable, and we couldn't have done what we've done without you. So thank you. Appreciate it very much. So.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that. Mike, thank you for, I remember you've been around since I've been here, and you've done a really good job. And I think we tackled one of our biggest accomplishments was this last go around with getting all of our unions and all of our employees to see the importance of changing not only our compensation package but our benefits package. And I think that's going to go down as a real positive for everybody in the future. I want to thank you for that. So.
He's got that retired guy smile on him this morning.
I'm surprised you said that.
I I would imagine we'll probably see you walking the road of North Little Pine Beach a little bit more often now.
Way more.
In his duck uniform, duck hunting. So,
No, I do appreciate, and this has been honestly one of my favorite clients, favorite counties to work for. You know, it's been a while, well, been through many county administrator, county attorneys, and board members, but there's been a common thread of really everyone, including their HRs, lots of them, and to try to do what's right. And you folks have a good organization, lots of really good, dedicated employees, and you can see that. That doesn't mean that you don't have disagreements once in a while, but we've always been able to come together and you know, and honestly, the work that I do for the county can't be done alone. You know, we are a team there, just as you're a team there. This young lady to my right has been I practiced 35 years. I'm in my 35th year, and I am doing a little bit of work this year, but just cleaning up messes. That's the way I put it, you know, just closing up. But she has been my one and only legal assistant my whole career, which is, yeah, so that's Susan Blondeau, and very much appreciated. And then, you know, I do hope you continue to look towards Pemberton. Josh Egan is here, much better looking than me and smiling too, so don't be afraid to utilize Josh's services. And again, it's been an honor, and I hope, and I believe the county that we are in a better shape than we were quite a while ago, and a lot of baby steps, but hopefully things continue to stay on a positive path. So thank you very much.
Yes, I think his words of saying the county is in a better shape, and I think we are, so it's been a good tenure. With that, we'll go on to Gabe with his,
I'm not used to this new seating arrangement here yet.
Can you find a way to make the snow stop?
Morning.
Or-
I've been trying.
Have ya?
I've been trying. I planned a snowmobile trip last week and I figured that for sure would make it stop, but it didn't work.
yeah, for people in the county, Gabe is responsible for the weather. So
Yeah, that's his fault.
if you don't like it,
I'm sure I'll be getting phone calls. I guess I'm here this morning, our EMPG grant for 2019, the grant match. It's a little late this year. HSEM got the money late from the federal government. So this is for 2019. Just looking to get board approval and signature from the county chair and county administrator. It's in the amount of $33,886.
okay.
Move to approve the request.
Okay, we got a motion by Grant, second by Jim, for approving the request for $33,886. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Easy done.
Got her.
Thank you,
Thanks,
gentlemen.
Dave.
Thanks for getting the grant. Okay. With that, we'll go into wildlife management. Is there anybody here in that, or?
It doesn't look like it yet.
Okay. Well, then we'll go on to Darren. You're gonna take on your request to adopt revised acceptable use policy and social media policy. And you were looking for help too.
I'm looking for help too. Tim Dent's supposed to be here too to talk his portion of it, but I can certainly start by talking on the social media piece as well. I think all of you got a copy of the social media and electronic systems acceptable use policy. But the social media policy, the block to get it done for years now. It seems like we've had several social media incidents with some of our employees, and finally got down to the point where we brought it to the PIC a couple of weeks ago, and the PIC approved this social media policy. When I was researching social media policies, and you know, through HR channels, through online, everything, you wouldn't believe the amount of social media policies that are out there. There's some policies that are one page and cover generalization stuff, and there's other policies that are 25 pages that cover every single detail that you can and cannot do. And so I didn't want to make the policy so big that nobody read it, but I also wanted to cover as many things as I could in it. And so that's why we have a page and a half of policies, and basically it's centered around what you should and shouldn't do. And what I'm looking at doing is putting this within the respectable workplace policy is probably a subtopic in that. And then we'll probably have to discuss Tim's policy, the acceptable use policy, on whether that's a standalone or if that should be in the personnel policy as well. But going through this, of course, it's going to apply to all Clay County employees. And I think the biggest thing, if you look at the policy itself, is paragraph number 7, guidelines for social media. Know and follow the rules, be respectful, be honest and accurate, and post only appropriate and respectful content. I think that kind of sums up the entire policy as it is. And then we go into some of the lists of what you should and shouldn't do. But I think overall, as long as you have respect for the county, respect for your coworkers when you're posting stuff, and knowing that anything you post, whether you think it's private or not, is one way or another probably going to find its way to a public forum. We've found that out on several occasions where somebody thought they were just on a private group and ended up going to other people. People can forward those things, and so we just ask the employees to use their common sense, be respectful, be accurate and honest when they post things, whether it's on your own personal websites or on the county websites or any of the other things where they're posting. I think that's probably the easiest way to put it. So as you can see, if you have any questions on the social media policy, if you think I've forgotten something or something that should be in there, please let me know. We tried to balance the balancing act between free speech and being responsible and making sure that you're not bashing Clay County or your coworkers or fellow coworkers as well. So I'm open to questions on the social media policy, and then Tim is going to take over and kind of explain the reasoning for the usage policy as well.
I think to start off, I mean, first of all, what you said is, it's just good advice.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, and I think that pretty much covers it right there, you know.
Right.
You know, be careful what you put on there, you know, it's just, because it really spreads in a hurry.
Yes, it does.
Darren, is there, have we looked to AMC? Does AMC have a policy that they suggest? And if so, did we compare that to what we're looking at here?
You know what, I looked at so many policies, I can't remember if AMC was one of them or not. I can look in.
I think this is a good start, but I think maybe we should see if AMC has a suggested
Sure, I can.
policy that we could see how that correlates with ours.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think, like you say, number 7
Yeah.
covers it, you know.
Yep.
You can have 4 or 5 pages here, what you got. Read number 7, that's 4. Know and follow the rules, be respectful, be honest and accurate, and post only what's appropriate and respectful. So
Yep.
that covers it real good, and I
Yep.
appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Tim, you had something?
Yeah, our acceptable use policy is a policy that we've had in place for well over 20 years, and it hasn't been updated since March 18th of 2003. Some of the language in there was a little outdated. There were some redundancies in there, so we had gone through it and basically cleaned it up and actually made it a little bit smaller. And
Nothing has changed in technology since 2003, yes, there is.
No, yeah,
I was going to make that point that a lot of times technology outpaces any policy that we put in place, and that's another reason why I wanted to make this a little bit more generalized.
Yeah.
So no matter what we do in the future, it's still going to apply, and I think Tim is probably in the same boat.
yeah, a lot of the wording and terminology has changed over the years, but it basically, you know, says the same thing as it did, you know, back then, is, you know, this is what you can and can't do with county equipment.
So is this covered in an orientation or something, or,
Every new employee gets a copy of the usage policy, and they have to sign off on it that they have seen it and had it and received a copy of it. And then the social media policy, what I'll probably do is send these out as standalone policies right away. And then once I get some time, I'll incorporate at least the social media policy into the personnel policy, which they also get a copy of during orientation or in processing. I think we'll have to talk about the usage policy, if that's worth putting into the personnel policy or not. But yes, they do, all new hires get a copy of both of those.
okay. Yeah, I would say you have to explain it to them too, not just a matter of handing it to them, but
Yeah.
I hope there's an explanation to the new employees of what it's about too.
Actually, during orientation, I believe Mark Sloan, he comes in during orientation. He has about an hour with the new group, and he goes through some of this, I believe.
That's
So they not only get it, the policy during in-processing, but they also get Mark Sloan talking about these things in new hire orientation as well.
Okay, very good. Do we have to accept this thing, or are you just
I
letting
think
us
just
know?
a motion to accept both of the policies would be
So moved.
appropriate.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Grant, and second by Kevin, to accept this policy. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Get it in there.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, good work.
Thank you.
Okay, now we got the DNR acquiring some land. I take it, let's see, you, Mike?
I am.
Michael? Okay, Mike.
Thanks for getting me on your agenda today.
All right, then you're looking at getting some land in Flowing Township, I just take it that.
Section 23, and I did send out some information with my request to get on the agenda, and I don't know if you have a chance to look at that. I can either let that stand as is, or I can summarize it briefly if you'd like, or
Give us a
whichever.
brief summary on so the public can hear about it.
Okay, so the property that we're looking to acquire is a 158-acre parcel, so it's kind of it's a short quarter. Dan Murphy currently owns it. Dan approached us about 4 years ago, looking to sell it some point down the road when it came out of CRP, which it did this year in 2019. So we started that process a couple of years ago, but this type of purchase, it needs to go through county board, has to be approved by the county when it's an in-house DNR acquisition.
So is this land, you said Dan came to you to purchase this
He
land?
came to us, yeah, and it does share, if you look at your map, it does share two boundaries on our current WMA, the Flowing Prairie WMA. It's up in the northwest corner of
Okay.
that map that you're looking at there. So from the standpoint of the types of lands that we like to acquire, being adjacent, and then also it has to score internally at the DNR level for it to even move forward for, internally before we come here to present it to you. And one of the things that helps it a lot, again, is it's contiguous, but it's also within a distance of a population center, like we have Moorhead here, so that helps the score. It actually gets scored ranked against others across the state, so it scored pretty high with that. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, in terms of the integrity of the property, it's a good piece of property from the standpoint of wildlife. It's been in CRP, so it was seeded down to a native mix, several years ago when Dan purchased it, so.
Just to give my understanding of DNR taking land, buying land, was
Sure.
this put up for public sale too, or is he just go, is this just?
That I don't know, Dan just proposed it to us. Current taxes right now are 1679 was last year's taxes. PILT payments, if we look at our PILT payments the state would make, which is 0.75%. We don't have an appraisal on it yet. I'm using the assessed, or the estimated value from 2019, where your assessors assessed it at 441,000. So using that figure at 0.75%, PILT payments would be 3309. That's what we're estimating to be, so almost twice as much as the current taxes.
Yeah. I think the fact that it was probably in CRP land probably held it down too a little bit, right?
Yeah, and it's like a lot of the land in that township, Flowing Township, a lot of it's sub-irrigated. So there's a reason why it hasn't been farmed for a lot of years.
The reason I asked that question is I think not a lot, there's some citizens or residents that aren't knowledgeable of the PIL payment
Sure.
in lieu of taxes.
Yep.
You know, not realizing that we're gonna get more from taxes from when the DNR takes over than what the farmer is paying for on it right now. So we're not losing tax money by the DNR taking over this land, you know, and it's like I say, Mr. Murphy came to you and asked to sell the land, so,
So obviously with the DNR buying this land, that's public information.
Absolutely.
What is the DNR paying for that land compared to what it was assessed at?
Well, we would pay the appraised value.
Okay,
So if the board chooses to approve the resolution that I submitted, we'd get an appraisal.
Okay.
And we'd offer that, to make that offer to
Okay.
Mr. Murphy, and if he declines it, then it would be in his court
okay,
at that point.
okay. So, yeah, and I think traditionally we found that appraisals are fairly accurate with what we have on.
That's what I've used for all my acquisitions over the
Yeah.
years, and they're within the margin of error, 5% margin of error typically.
A lot of people don't necessarily like the assessed value until the time they sell it, then they,
yeah.
Yeah, well, it's good when it's low, when you're paying the taxes, but.
then they like it, but.
I had a question.
Sir.
Where is this tract in relationship to the Clay County Bicentennial Park?
Oh, that.
Where's 108 on
Let's see, Bicentennial is gonna be north up in the Felton unit, adjacent to the SNA's Felton unit. That's a different division, Scientific Natural Area. You can see the, excuse me. So this is the Flowing Prairie unit right here. This is the section, quarter section we're talking about. Here's the Felton Prairie, SNA. So the Bicentennial, I'm not sure where the Bicentennial is.
Okay.
I can find that out, but part of this whole area is part of what we're calling the Prairie Core area. That's part of the DNR's Prairie Plan.
Where's the creek that comes to?
The creek that comes through
Felton.
Flowing. Felton's right here,
Yeah,
right?
Felton Creek's up in that.
Yeah, right.
Keene
down
Township.
through here. Felton Creek right here.
Yeah. So it's south of that. South. Yeah. I know exactly where it is.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the request.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Kevin, second by Grant, to approve the request for the DNR purchasing the land up in Flowing Township. It's 158.15 acres of land. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and with that, I guess we're going to committee reports. Jim, you want to start us off today?
Yep. Thursday, I attended the Lake Agassiz Regional Library Board of Trustees. And we heard the 2019 budget final rundown and reviewed the 2020. And Lake Agassiz Regional Library is trying to raise $30,000 for a new small bookmobile van to use in the summer mostly. And they're trying to raise, I think they've got about half the money raised for it so far. So, that was about it.
Okay, good.
Let's see, I had the jail and detention meeting last week, the construction meeting, and of course, we're just coming to the close on the jail, so it should be soon, and they've got some tours and things arranged, and we'll get some notification of that soon. So. And the detention center, we had a juvenile detention advisory board meeting last week also, and part of that was we took a tour of the project, and we've got a couple months left, but they've still got some work to get done, but it's pretty amazing how much has already been accomplished. So
What are we looking at completion date there? Is that?
in March
15th.
Yeah,
March
about the
15th.
middle of March.
Yeah, when I see the pictures that they send out every week, I sometimes hope to make that.
Yeah. There's been a lot of work done over there, and so they're moving along pretty good right now, so it should be done, so. And, let's see what else, so we had a Heartland Trail meeting, and, that's, well, it's always like I've always said, the diversion project looks like a cakewalk compared to trying to get that Heartland Trail done, but it's, well, I thought we're looking at trying to get some bonding money to move the project ahead, and of course, we've been partnering with Becker County on that, and, they're, of course, still struggling to get that Detroit Lakes to Frazee section done, but I thought it was a fairly hopeful meeting, and it's going to take a while, but it's making some progress. So that was it for me.
Kevin?
All right, on Tuesday afternoon, or Tuesday after the 14th, we had a highway tracking meeting, and on that during that meeting, we had some discussion about an old formula for reimbursing small cities for work that's done, maintenance work that's done on county roads within their municipalities, their boundaries. And that's kind of old and probably outdated, and hats off to our highway engineer, Dave, for bringing that to us. I think it's time for review. I think the main thing is just like we have a contract with the city of Moorhead, a lot of people don't realize that 11th Street that goes right up front here is actually a county road. And that is maintained by the city, one of the few county roads that we have within the city limits. And so we contract and we actually pay Moorhead for that service. And the same thing should be within whatever county roads we have, whether it's Dilworth, Glendon, Hawley, Barnesville. We have the same type of setup there, or we need to have the same kind of setup there, so we're reviewing that. We did have some discussion regarding the Riverton pit discussion, and there was a request for a possible bike trail in there. I think that's needs some more dialogue on that. I think that's what we're going to further research that. We have established the township maintenance contract scheduling. It looks like it's going to be ready to come before the county board regarding their annual price per road maintenance by the end of February. And then there was supposed to be the meeting with Gabe regarding the flood update, and that was moved back to January 30th. Then I also attended the West Central Regional Juvenile Detention Center meeting, and as Commissioner Wayland talked about there, we did have a tour. A significant thing to point out is we did talk about our budget and our policy. Our policy right now talks about what we do with the revenues over expenditures if it happens. And we aren't going to do anything yet with the 2019 numbers, but as much as we talk about the extra contingencies that we've done in that facility, a good thing to report today is the fact that just in 2019 alone, we're anticipating revenues over expenditures from that facility of $700,000. So when you take that into consideration, and the fact that facility is so well known, and I think our county attorney could attest to the fact that what's making it so good is the programming we offer for the youth there, and the different types of programs that are available there. And part of that $700,000 revenues over expenditures is the fact that what we anticipated in non-member county usage is way up. So that's a testament to how good that our facility is. So that 700,000, I think in 2018, that number was 300,000, of which we're kind of reserving that to help cover some of these contingency overruns that we had on the project. But all in all, it's going really well. We did talk a little bit with them about the recent food contract service that we did and how we rejected some bids and redid it. We informed them about that. There was some discussion about, during this process, there was a few times where we had to turn away some of our county members. I think Goddard County had like 20-some days or 20 kids or something over the year. And so when that happens, of course, then that creates another financial burden for that county because they have to pay to send the kids someplace else. And so what we're going to be doing is reviewing our policy. And so if we have revenues over expenditures and we had to turn them down, that we're going to look at how we can compensate them for having to take them someplace else. The good news about that is when we do that, those days that they spend in another facility will still count towards their average usage, which comes into play on what percentage they pay of the total bill. So it'll work itself out really good, I think. So.
But aren't the beds they get so many beds promised, but if they're not available,
well,
is it the beds aren't available, or they got more than what they anticipated to have?
Commissioner Gross, they're not. We changed that last year to where there's a 2-year look back based on their average usage of the facility. No place can we ever guarantee or where we reserve a bed for anybody.
Okay.
But what we try to do is within our policy is that we try to make sure that, we don't, for example, in this case, we'll try not to, or we'll limit the number of non-member county usage. Where it gets tough for our staff and for James and Josh is, as I mentioned, we have the programs that they come here for. And when they come here for a program, they're not here for 3 days. They're here for an extended period of time. And so once we make that commitment to allowing a non-member to be in that program, it creates a potential for having not enough space. The good news is come March 15th, that should not be an issue for a while anyway, because we're going to be going from 33 to, we're going to be doubling our secure bed space. So
I just want, as far as I know how the payment policy, each one contracted for so much and they're paying so much. Mm-hmm. But if they have more, if the bed's available, they have more, do they have to pay more then?
No, and again, and that's why this new formula we have works so well. They don't pay more at the time, but if they, for example, in year 2 or in 2019, let's
Oh, the
just-
average, okay.
let's just say that, you know, Otter Tail County used 3 more beds than what they averaged the previous 2 years. Every year, we do a new 2-year look back.
Okay.
And so then that 3 that they were over gets calculated in, and then they end up paying a larger share the
I
next go around.
understand. Thank you.
That concludes my report.
Okay, I had, highway last Tuesday, I had highway tracking, which we pretty much have gone over. They're also on highway tracking, we discussed the 52nd Avenue Bridge. They're putting a bike trail across there that's gonna connect up with 60th Avenue and 52nd Avenue in Fargo. They're looking to, I don't know whether they're gonna expand the bridge or reroute that bridge, not reroute it, excuse me. They're gonna put a bike path across it anyway, so. Eventually, probably there'll be a bike path along 60th Avenue, or something come down from north there, from Moorhead. From highway tracking, we had Heartland Trail, which Grant has already covered, but what they're finding out this Heartland Trail, some of the area, they're checking out to see if there's anything there that has to be preserved, and they went and looked for some artifacts, and just the one area they looked at, they found over 1,000 artifacts in the area. So that could again slow down the process. Like Grant said, that process of the Heartland Trail compared to the diversion, maybe a cakewalk. You know, it's just they're finding out so many things. And then the next thing they found out about disturbing wildlife. You know, if you put a trail through the area there, and but it's east of Linden, you know, are you going to disturb wildlife? You know, that's another thing that's causing a problem there. So I don't know where we're going to go.
The one thing we did talk about, though, is looking at some of that route, switching to being adjacent to Highway 10 and some public right-of-way, which would help, I think, matters in terms of
Yes.
actually getting it done. So they're looking at that right now, too.
Yeah. So again, you know, that's sort of related to the Heartland Trail, like to our facilities meeting that I've been going to. Everything's all set except the money, so we're ready to go with that. Wednesday I had the Historical Society. You know, it's a good group there. They most of the members are all, I'd say they're almost present at every meeting. You know, it's very good representation there at the meeting. It's good to see that. And the one thing we did, I don't know how many of you go to German Fest, but that's going to be canceled this year, so you should go on Stum, so, yep. Huh? Just, there's so many different places that have German festivities going on. So they felt they were being repetitious and stuff, so. Other than that, those are my meetings. Steve?
Commissioner Whalen, did you give your report? Okay. I participated in the highway tracking. That's been touched by Commissioner Campbell and Gross. On that afternoon, I met with James O'Donnell and Lori Johnson with the Juvenile Center project, and in terms of addressing the contract with Burns. A couple different department head evaluations over the last week. On the 16th, we had central administration. Joe's done a lot of work making sure most of our roofs here on campus are precast, but had somebody come in last week and touch on some of the spots that maybe need a little bit of attention. So that got taken care of. Talked about the bonding for our transfer station. Ended up in the bonding bill, $8.5 million, so we're pleased to see that. Mark Sloan reported on the complete count for our census. The complete count group is looking to have a table set up in our Family Service Center in mid-March through April in hopes of making sure that we have people that are signed up for the census. On the 16th, I had a phone conversation with Scott Fedek. Our master planning group should be getting information this week on the master planning project for the campus. We are looking to meet again next Monday, the 27th, to go over those plans and the figures. On the 16th, Colleen and I sat through the MCIT annual coverage webinar. Each year, MCIT either sends a representative to the board to talk about coverage and give you guys an update, and then off year they come to our department heads. And so in 2020, MCIT will be coming through here and walking through that update with our department heads. Also, we've been working with MCIT on getting coverage for our MIC JPA. They've been running the information that we've been providing through their board to determine if MCIT would be willing to provide insurance coverage. On the 17th, I sat in with Commissioner Wayland. There's a reporter from NBC that came through and asked a few questions on the refugee issue. And so I think that story will be coming out on Minnesota, I think, here within the next week or so. Referee Soline had an open house that was rescheduled due to the weather. I will get you guys that information. Her hearings actually start this morning, I believe, down on the first floor. We have our governmental retreat here at the Law Enforcement Center on the 24th. There's still time to register for our department heads or anybody that is still interested. And then, too, just wanted to follow up this last week. There was some discussion at board about internet issues that I think it was Hawley Township. And so I just happened to reach out last week to Justin Forte. He's a government liaison for Midco, just to look at some additional information on internet services. He wanted to pass on a few different things that this spring they're going to be running fiber line out to Glendon. Right now, that will be as far east as they go. But they do have other options through Midco in rural areas. They provide fixed wireless internet. They provide the signals and the antennas on water towers, grain elevators, and it's a point-to-point, it's not a satellite, and so the speeds that they're able to provide are very similar to the fiber. The range for those satellites are about 6 to 8 miles, and it's much less expensive. So some of our citizens, if that's something that they're interested in, it doesn't require a great number of citizens to, like a fiber line would, but the fixed wireless might be another option. This past fall, they've just wrapped up in Sabin of updating all of their equipment, and right now they're working north of Moorhead and are going to be heading to the east. And so hopefully that will have a positive impact on some of the speeds that we were talking about. And just for notification for our board today, as we've discussed on 2 times a week, this boardroom is going to become a magistrate court for magistrate hearings, and so there's going to be some work that's going to start almost immediately after board today, and they'll be in here for parts of the rest of the week, getting it prepared for those hearings. That concludes my report.
Okay. I was just thinking this upcoming meeting, you already mentioned in the government retreat. And I noticed next week you say swearing in for veteran service officer. What is that?
Every 4 years, our VSO has to be sworn in.
Okay.
And so that is what we're looking to do then.
Oh, I didn't know whether I was supposed to be swearing at or swearing in, but, okay.
Well, usually you get sworn in, then you get sworn in.
I had it the wrong way around, okay. Also upcoming Giving Hearts Day, I know the Historical Society, if anybody's interested in Giving Hearts Day, I think that's February 15 coming up, so if anybody's interested in giving their, contact them. And with that, anybody else?
I think Commissioner Gross said, the downtown Moorhead plan has a public house, open house on Thursday, the February 6th too. It'd be good to put that on the calendar. I think that could be a significant thing that could really make a big difference for Clay County as well. So, and that goes from 4 to 6:30 in the Moorhead Center Mall atrium.
Very good.